France, a nation of 68.6 million people as of January 2025, is far more than a country on the map of Western Europe. It is arguably the world's most powerful soft power civilization, a land where ancient history, breathtaking beauty, haute couture, world-class cuisine, and artistic genius have merged over more than 2 millennia into a culture that has shaped how the entire world eats, dresses, paints, films, speaks, and even thinks about beauty and elegance. And today in 2025, that global influence is stronger than ever, with France breaking its own all-time record by welcoming a staggering 102 million international visitors, more than any other country on Earth, generating 77.5 billion in tourism revenue and attracting over 5 million Americans alone, according to Reuters and the French Tourism Ministry, making France once again the undisputed #1 most visited nation on the planet for the third consecutive year. To understand why the world is so magnetically drawn to France, one must go back to the very beginning, to the ancient Celtic tribes known as the Gauls, who first populated the region before Julius Caesar's Roman legions conquered the territory between 58 and 51 BC, leaving behind Latin language roots, roads, and the city of Lutetia that would grow into modern-day Paris. And then came the Germanic Frankish tribes who swept in after Rome's fall, with their greatest ruler Charlemagne being crowned Holy Roman Emperor on Christmas Day in the year 800 AD by Pope Leo III, earning him the title Father of Europe and establishing the Frankish Empire that stretched across much of the continent. And then came centuries of French kings, from the Capetians to the Valois to the Bourbons, who built the magnificent monuments and palaces that still draw millions of visitors every year, including the extraordinary Palace of Versailles, originally a modest hunting lodge constructed for King Louis XIII and then transformed by his son, the legendary Sun King Louis XIV, into the most opulent royal palace the world had ever seen, with Louis XIV moving the entire French court to Versailles in 1682 and ruling from there until his death in 1715, overseeing a palace that today covers 67,000 square meters of floor space, features 2,300 rooms, 20,000 candles in its hall of mirrors, and sprawling gardens designed by André Lenotre spanning over 800 hectares, attracting approximately 7.7 million visitors per year and recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a monument so grand that it set the template for royal palaces all over Europe. Then came the thunderclap of history, the French Revolution of 1789, which did not just reshape France but shook the entire world to its foundations, as ordinary citizens stormed the Bastille fortress on July 14th, now celebrated every year as Bastille Day, overthrew the monarchy, executed King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette, and proclaimed the Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen, the foundational document of modern democracy and human rights. And from the chaos of revolution rose the most consequential military and political genius of the modern era. Napoleon Bonaparte, who crowned himself emperor in 1804, reformed the entire French legal system through the Napoleonic Code, which still influences the legal systems of over 50 countries today, including Louisiana in the United States and the province of Quebec in Canada, standardized the metric system that the world now uses, and in a single breathtaking act of cultural brilliance opened the Louvre Palace to the public as the world's first national museum, laying the foundation for what would become the most visited art museum in the entire history of civilization, a title the Louvre still holds today in 2025, having welcomed 9.0 million visitors in 2025 alone, according to Wikipedia, housing an astonishing 35,000 works on display out of its total collection of 615,000 objects, including 3 of the most famous artworks ever created: the Mona Lisa, painted by Leonardo da Vinci, acquired by King Francois I in the 16th century, the ancient Greek marble statue of the Venus de Milo, circa 130-100 BC, and the winged Victory of Samothrace. And alongside the Louvre stands another icon that has become the single most recognized structure ever built by human hands, the Eiffel Tower, constructed by Gustave Eiffel for the 1889 World's Fair in Paris and originally intended as a temporary structure, now receiving approximately 6.2 million visitors per year and standing 330 meters tall as the defining symbol of Paris and France itself. And then there is Notre-Dame Cathedral, the medieval Gothic masterpiece on the Ile de la Cité in the heart of Paris, whose devastating fire of April 2019 shocked the world, but whose extraordinary 5-year restoration, involving over 250 companies, 2,000 workers, and donations from across the globe, resulted in a triumphant reopening on December 7, 2024, after which it attracted more than 11 million visitors in its first 12 months back open, surpassing both the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower in visitor numbers in 2025, according to Vatican News and multiple French sources, because Notre-Dame is not just a tourist site, but a living, breathing spiritual and cultural heart of France and indeed of Western civilization. France's cultural power extends into every dimension of human creativity, and nowhere is this more evident than in the world of fashion, because Paris has been the undisputed fashion capital of the world since the mid-19th century, when Charles Frederick Worth, an English-born designer working in Paris, invented the concept of haute couture, high sewing, creating bespoke, handcrafted luxury garments for wealthy clients, and establishing the tradition of fashion shows that Paris still perfects every season, with Paris Fashion Week formally established in October 1973 by the French Fashion Federation and now representing the pinnacle of global fashion, the event that sets trends adopted by every designer, magazine, and clothing brand on the planet, and the names that emerge from France's fashion heritage read like a roll call of the gods of style. Coco Chanel, who revolutionized women's fashion in the 1920s by liberating women from corsets and introducing the little black dress. Christian Dior, whose new look of 1947 with its cinched waist and full skirt redefined post-war femininity. Yves Saint Laurent, who put women in trouser suits, and Karl Lagerfeld, who led Chanel for over 3 decades and became fashion's most iconic figure. And today, the financial muscle behind French fashion is staggering. The French fashion industry generates an estimated $150 billion in direct turnover annually. The French apparel market reached $41.15 billion in 2025. France fashion e-commerce exceeded $23.66 billion in 2025, projected to grow to $56.36 billion by 2032. And the undisputed emperor of this luxury empire is LVMH, Moet Hennessy Louis Vuitton, the world's leading luxury products conglomerate, owning 75 prestigious brands, including Louis Vuitton, Christian Dior, Givenchy, Fendi, Celine, Kenzo, Tiffany & Co., Bulgari, Loewe, Tag Heuer, Moet & Chandon, Dom Perignon, and Hennessy, with LVMH reporting $80.8 billion in revenue for 2025, operating over 6,280 stores worldwide, and Louis Vuitton alone ranking as the most valuable French brand with a brand value of $112 billion according to Kantar Brands E2025, while Chanel carries a brand value of $37.9 billion, and Hermès, famous for its Birkin and Kelly bags that sell for tens of thousands of dollars, has seen its brand value climb to $40.9 billion in 2025 according to Forbes, making French luxury not just a cultural phenomenon but one of the most powerful economic forces in the world. And France's fragrance heritage is equally extraordinary. The town of Grasse in the south of France has been the perfume capital of the world since the 17th century, and today France remains the global leader in perfume and cosmetics exports, with French cosmetics exports reaching $18.75 billion in the first 10 months of 2025 according to Premium Beauty News, as the global perfume market itself is valued at approximately $59-60 billion in 2025. French cuisine is another dimension of French cultural power that has conquered the world, and its roots go deep. In the 14th century, Guillaume Tirel, a court chef known as Taille-Vent, wrote Le Viandier, one of the oldest recipe collections in French culinary history, and over the centuries, French chefs developed a gastronomic tradition so refined and complex that UNESCO inscribed the gastronomic meal of the French on its intangible cultural heritage of humanity list in 2010, and then in November 2022, UNESCO added the French baguette itself, that simple, perfect stick of bread made from just 4 ingredients, flour, water, salt, and yeast, to the same intangible cultural heritage list, with President Emmanuel Macron celebrating the occasion by calling the baguette 250 grams of magic and perfection, and today, over 6 billion baguettes are sold every year in France alone, one for nearly every man, woman, and child on the planet 8 times over, and French cheese is equally legendary, with France producing over 1,200 distinct varieties of cheese. Charles de Gaulle famously asked, "How can you govern a country which has 246 varieties of cheese?" With the domestic cheese market valued at $3.09 billion in 2025, and French wine, the backbone of French agricultural and cultural identity, produced 35.9 million hectoliters in 2025, making France the world's second-largest wine producer behind Italy, with iconic regions like Bordeaux, Burgundy, Champagne, and the Rhone Valley producing wines that command the highest prices at auction worldwide, and the culinary excellence of France is officially recognized through the Michelin Guide, which was itself invented in France in 1900 by tire manufacturer André Michelin as a guide for motorists, and which today serves as the global Bible of fine dining, with France hosting 654 Michelin-starred restaurants in 2025, including 31 three-star restaurants, the highest honor, 75 plus two-star establishments, and 534 one-star restaurants, while Paris alone boasts approximately 123 Michelin-starred restaurants, and the greatest chef in Michelin history was Frenchman Joël Robuchon, who held more Michelin stars than any chef in the world. France's contribution to art history is equally without parallel. It was in Paris on April 15, 1874, that a group of radical painters including Claude Monet, Pierre-Auguste Renoir, Edgar Degas, and Edouard Manet held an independent exhibition that critics mockingly called Impressionist, based on Monet's painting Impression Sunrise, and that movement became the most influential revolution in the history of Western art, liberating painting from academic tradition and laying the foundation for all of modern art, and France also gave the world cinema itself, when brothers Auguste and Louis Lumière held the world's first paid public film screening in Lyon on December 28, 1895, making France the true birthplace of motion pictures, and France's cinematic tradition is celebrated every year at the Cannes Film Festival on the glamorous French Riviera, which held its first edition in September 1946, originally planned for 1939 but delayed by World War II, and has since grown into the world's most prestigious film festival, where the coveted Palme d'Or Award has launched the careers of directors from every corner of the world, and France continues to maintain over 54 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, among the highest of any nation, including Mont Saint-Michel, the prehistoric caves of the Vézère Valley, the Loire Valley Château, Chartres Cathedral, the Roman aqueduct Pont du Gard, and the banks of the Seine in Paris. The French language itself is a global superpower. It is the fifth most spoken language on Earth, with 321 million speakers worldwide, official in 32 countries spanning 5 continents, with 79.9 million native speakers and an additional 194.2 million second language speakers, and remarkably 61.8% of all French speakers today live not in France but in Africa, where the French language continues to expand rapidly, and projections by the Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie suggest that by 2050 the French language could have as many as 750 million speakers worldwide, making it one of the fastest-growing major languages on the planet. France hosted the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris, the city's third time hosting the Games after 1900 and 1924, and the Paris 2024 Games made history as the first Olympic Games in history to achieve full gender parity on the field of play, with 10,500 athletes from 206 nations competing, 4 new sports added: skateboarding, sport climbing, surfing, and breaking, and for the first time in Olympic history, prize money was awarded to gold medal winners by World Athletics, while the Games left a legacy of renovated Paris monuments, including the Grand Palais and the banks of the Seine River, and helped push France's tourism numbers to 100 million visitors in 2024, and then to a record 102 million in 2025. And even in energy, France has taken a path unlike any other large nation. Approximately 70% of France's total electricity is generated by nuclear power, one of the highest proportions in the world, from 56 nuclear reactors operated by EDF, which generated an estimated 370,400 TW1 of nuclear electricity in 2025 alone, making France one of Europe's largest electricity exporters and giving it one of the lowest carbon intensity electricity grids in the developed world. With a GDP of $4,449 trillion in purchasing power parity terms, World Economics 2025, GDP growth of approximately 0.70.9% in 2025, and an economy powered by luxury goods, tourism, aerospace, Airbus, pharmaceuticals, agriculture, and technology, France remains the world's 7th largest economy by nominal GDP and one of the most culturally, diplomatically, and economically powerful nations on Earth, a country where every street corner tells a story, every meal is an event, every building is a work of art, and every bottle of wine, every baguette, every fashion season, every film at Cannes, and every visitor who stands before the Mona Lisa or beneath the Eiffel Tower is participating in a civilization that has been perfecting beauty, culture, and the art of living for over 2,000 years, and that, more than any statistic, is why France remains, year after year, the most visited, most admired, most imitated, and most deeply beloved country in the world.